Hi, and welcome to another topic for the rigonomicon.com. Today's topic is going to be about creating an MVP rig. So, what is an MVP rig, and why is that important to us at this early stage in our learning of rigging? So, if I go to the webpage for rigonomicon.com and I go into the lexicon section, you're going to find that we've defined what an MVP is, and to our surprise, it's actually the minimal viable product. There's nothing most valuable about it. It's minimal. It's almost the concept in reverse. So I'm just going to read it, and then we can discuss this. It is the absolute minimum requirement for a product to be released to the public, although that bar seems to keep getting lower in AAA development. In terms of rigging, this means the minimum rig we need in order to set poses and to do basic things like walk cycles. We will then build from this and add as many features as needed to improve our animation potential. All right, so an MVP, the original concept, although it's kind of been marred in recent days with products that are half baked and that have roadmaps to finish. Unfortunately, that's a reality. The term's been kind of ruined. However, for us, it's valuable because there's a concept behind it that is important to understand. So the minimum viable product existed originally because we wanted to avoid over engineering, basically building things we don't really need. There's a lot of rigs out there, auto riggers, that just throw every feature you can imagine into it. And that, in essence, is a way of slowing everything down, and you're adding complexity. And if things go wrong, you have more to deal with. And sometimes, almost every time, you don't even need half that stuff. Let's be frank. So when you're starting to rig, you need to start thinking about what is the absolute fundamental that I need in order to set this up. And that's why a minimal viable product is valuable to us in concept. So well, let's try to set one up. So the I'm going to start with the sushi rig that we had. Although, like we mentioned before, it's a bit of a misnomer. It's not really a rig; it's more of a skeleton. So if you select any part and rotate it, yeah, it's doing the thing. And if you think about it like a figurine, like an action figure, then this is kind of almost like a toy that you would have purchased in the store for Star Wars, and you'd be able to animate it if you were working for Robot Chicken, but it's not necessarily what you want to be doing as an animator. So this not you're not going to be impressing anybody with this rig, and you're going to have a lot of trouble doing even simple things like walk cycles. So the first thing we need to do, and this is extraordinarily important, at this very moment, as you're looking at this, you're going, how do I get this to be functional? What do I need it to do? And this is core to rigging, this question, because rigging is a process that is of critical thinking, of asking questions and refining things. And there's no, if you ever have like basically a do this, do that step kind of setup you're being told to do, then that's probably not going to help you in the long run. If you all you have to do is follow certain steps and press certain buttons, guess what? An AI or just a simple script might replace you then. So what you really need to be thinking about is, oh, as an animator, what do I need it to do, and how do I set that up? So the first thing I would probably do is, well, when we talked about the walk cycle, and that's already an issue, right? And another way of looking at it is, let's say that the first thing you want to do is if you want to do walk cycle, it's great that I have this root node and that I can move around, and it's great that I have this pelvis, which is the next highest in the hierarchy, and I can move that around. But thing is, I can't seem to lock the feet onto the ground. So in a walk cycle, that's kind of important. So the first thing we have to do is let's get these legs, and I'm going to work on one side, and it's going to be it's going to be kind of rough. Okay, it's going to be sloppy. It's not going to look good, but it's going to have functionality, and that's an important process that you should get into the habit of. Have a scene open, start doing some tests, and see how you can set it up so that it fits your needs, and then you do a second pass where you go, okay, what did I learn from that? How can I improve it? How can I clean it up? And that's what I'm going to do on the other side of the body. And so the first one's going to be let's just do this side of the body first and see if I can get it to work the way I want it to, and then we'll make it more efficient and cleaner. So the first thing I need to do is maybe add an IK. If you're watching this video and you haven't seen the video on in the basics section for visuals and for constraints, please pause this and go watch those videos because they are necessary um, material. You need to understand how those things work before we get into the actual rigging of a character. Okay, so hopefully you've come back and you've watched those if you hadn't seen them yet. And you can go to skeleton now and create IK handle. I'm just going to click on the little ball that's at the ankle, right? So that's technically the foot. And then I'm going to click on the where the hip is, and it's going to create this circle and an arrow. And it's also going to create this kind of like a locator. It's hard to see, but it's there. If you look, you'll see that it's little indications that it's there. If I do that, you'll see that there's the little part here that's sticking out. And if I move it, it will react correctly. I'll undo that. While I'm at it, I might as well parent it to the root node because I want it to move with the root node. And if I grab the pelvis and I move it around, sure enough, it's doing what I wanted for at least the two bones at the top. But the foot isn't orientated correctly. And I use that term because we know that there's a constraint called the orient constraint, and that's what controls the overall orientation of an object. So what I'm going to do for this leg is we're going to have to solve the foot so that it this is the second thing that we should have, right? We should have the foot somehow locked to the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a if you should have this menu by the time that you've gone to class and you've received this this material. If you're someone that's not from my class and would like to have this this menu, in the meantime, if it's not available to you through Bacon Strip, you can go to the Rigonomicon.com section for has scripts that you can just copy paste, put into buttons, run as shelf scripts or whatever. You can just copy them like certain things that I've gone over in other videos, like for example the parent mesh. You can just you can parent a mesh rather. You can put it in the clipboard. Come in here, go to the little script thing, add a new Python script, and just paste it. And sure enough, you'd be able to run that command, whatever function you need. Most of those scripts are up here in some way or another. So I'm not going to go over too much of that. Just know that it exists. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bacon locator. So there's the default locator, which is the Maya one. There's the joint locator, which is basically the visuals of a locator on a joint, right? That's what the joint locator means. And then there's the bacon locator, which is it looks like a locator, but it's using the bacon shape and it's put on a joint as well. The reason why I want to use that is because as you may have noticed, Maya is not so good for certain objects that are not joints for being able to see them through the mesh. So I'm going to create bacon locator, and it's going to come with a nice feature, which is X-ray mode built into it. So I'm actually going to make the wire thickness. That's another feature that's nice. So while we're doing this, we know what's going on. And I'm going to change its scale so it's a little bit bigger, so we don't accidentally select the wrong thing. And that's plenty. Now we've got a lot of features here that just got used that are very handy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and then multi-select the foot, or the ankle in this case. That's where the pivot is. And I'm going to match it. So you could use the matching tools up here, modify, match, transformation, yada, yada. But you have this button here. And all I'm going to do is, well, you know what? For the sake of the first part where it's sloppy, I'm going to do I'm going to do translate, rotate, match. So it's going to snap to that point and grab its rotation. All right, doesn't seem like it matched the rotation. The rotation, or did it? I think it did actually. Yeah, I guess. Just looking carefully. Okay, it seems like it's fine. So that's fine. So now I've got this object that's been orientated exactly the same way as the foot, which means if I were to put a constraint so that the foot follows this object, it shouldn't move, right? And that's if I put a constraint that doesn't have some sort of offset. It's the raw one. So always remembering the right order for selections in Maya. When it comes to constraints, it's almost the opposite of everything else inside of Maya. Like parenting is in reverse, matching is in reverse. So if I were to go to constraint, I detach that, and I go into the orientation options, I'm going to remove that. Just going to leave it as is, so it's 100%. So it'll match perfectly what's going on there. It won't take into consideration the difference between them right now. And I apply that. I can close that, and now I'll be able to just press the button because it has that option. So I'm just going to test it now. If I grab this, it didn't move because we made it so that it had the same orientation. But now if I rotate this, the foot is there for the ride. Now if I grab the upper body again, now we're in business. This is starting to look like what we needed. Okay. Another thing that we can do to make, because we have these custom controls to make it less confusing, we can change the shape so that, let's say, oh, that's a rotation. Hang on a second. So this one's not so useful to us. And this one's not too useful to us either. We just want this point here because as we're working, that's all we really need. Okay, so now we've got it locked down, and that's great. So we could say everything's cool, right? But there's something seriously wrong with this because how do I lift the foot? So you're probably thinking, well, okay, so if I want to plant the foot, job's done, but now I need to be able to move the foot. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create another one of these objects. I'll bring it in over here, bacon locator. And if you were doing this in Maya, if you wanted to have an object that is on the ground, so let's say you could create a square by snapping onto the grid, and you could create a wire curve floor contact. That would be the thing that controls the whole foot. You need to have this concept of some sort of node that you can move around that controls the entire foot. So what we're going to do for this one, it's like, let's say we go through some of the visuals. We could do exactly the same thing we did before, but let's try to make our life a little easier. So I'm going to just maybe make a box. Yeah, that'll probably do it. So if I go, but I just need to, I'm going to put it in the back. So it's on the heel. I usually try to, the object that controls the entire foot, it's nice to have it on the heel because if you want to plant the foot by heel first, that's generally where you go. Without even having to move this, you can just move it over here. So it's probably going to be a Y rotation, so -90 here. Oh boy, that would be gimbal. And then let's say the scale, we're going to do something like this, and maybe make it a little bit wider. Or actually, yeah, we could just make it so that it's a thing on the floor. So 0.2, something like that. Maybe a bit longer. Okay, and now we need it to be wider. Something like that, okay? Now the thing is, for this to be flush with the pivot, you just look at the y-axis scale, so it's 0.2, so you just move it 0.2. Oop. Offset is 0. It's going to be 0.2. There we go. Because it has to be half, 0.1. So now it's flush. Whatever you put over here as your local y scale, we're going to put that as our offset. So now we have this handy dandy object for the floor, and We're going to make sure that it's got the pivot where we want it to be. And the other thing that I'm going to do maybe is get rid of the X-ray mode on this one, because that way I can actually see where it is. And the other thing that I might want to do is offset the, like move it so that it's a little bit off to the side here without losing the pivot. So something like that. I'm using, so you know, I'm manipulating these things by simply selecting the channel, not the number, but the channel itself, the name of it. And if you use the middle button on your mouse, you should be able to do that. And if you hold Control, you'll have fine-tuned controls. And so that's good. So that's good. We got this thing now. And so now we said this controls the foot. So far we have an IK handle and something that controls the orientation of the foot. So I'm going to select both of those and just parent it to this new main foot controller. I'm going to press P. So now if I select this object, move it, now I can move the foot around. Does it work when I want to rotate it? Yes, it does. It does entirely. Okay, good. So we're off to a good start. As far as functionality goes, it's not visually the worst. Like, it's not too bad. If you had like the Maya typical wireframe on the floor, maybe it wouldn't be so great, but because it's hard to see when it's not thick lines and so on. Here we have a solid selection. We know what's going on. Here it's because of the feature from the wire thickness, we're able to make it so it's easy to spot. Okay, so we've got a good start. Now let's consider. Okay, I can plant the foot. It's locked down, and I can lift it, and you can do that kind of thing. So that's not bad. That's a pretty good start. Now, like the thing is though, in some I've seen some rigs to just stop there really for the foot and go, that's good enough. But let's say you wanted to do a walk cycle where you lift off the ball of the foot, meaning you at this point where the ball of the foot is, that would be, well, that is specifically, it's the toe, but the rotation point would be what we would consider the ball of the foot, and we want to be able to lift, like rotate that upwards so that all of this stuff, like everything that's controlling from this point up, would actually lift the foot, and you'd be able to basically do a walk cycle where you lift off the ball of the foot, and then you can push upwards to be able to then plant it again on the heel by zeroing it out and so on. So that is definitely something we're going to want to do. So I'm going to just grab this thing. And thing that's interesting here, by the way, Shift can allow you to do that. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, where I did a match. Just the actually, I'm going to try both. Okay, so I just grabbed another one of these and I made it snap onto that. And we can start color coding if we wanted to, but for now, I mean, it's not terribly complicated. So now this thing, let's see, what is it going to do? So whatever this thing is, I'm going to want to rotate it this way, and I want the ankle and everything that controls the foot at that point to follow it. So let's just follow our instincts then. I'm going to grab the IK controller that's there. I'm going to grab the thing that controls the orientation of the foot, and I'm going to parent it to this node. Then the other thing I'm going to do is, well, for this to keep working, everything has to be parented to it in some way. So since we lost the parenting to it, we need to include it now. And that's all we needed. Now the little warning popped up because of when I duplicated it, it kept the same parent, so I didn't even need to do that. Now let's just test it. If I rotate this, sure enough, the ankle is lifting. Did we lose this? No, this is fine. If I rotate this, seems fine to me too. Okay. So what was the problem though? I did notice something though. When I was lifting off the ball of the foot, the toe was going through the floor. So we need to get that foot that little toe under control. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just create another object. Like so. Oh, right. So here's the thing that's kind of annoying. Whenever you select an object, I just select this thing. It will duplicate. That's kind of weird. It's highlighting this thing. Shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so I'm gonna just create a new object, and this one's going to be. This is a toe control, right? So I might as well make it like a little box on the front. I'm gonna turn that into a box, and I'm going to try to match it to the toe. See what it gives me. Translate and rotate. Apply. So you'll notice that it's actually pretty close to what we needed it to be. Just the shape of it isn't so great. So I'm going to see what kind of scaling I need in order to fix this. So that's probably the first one we're going to have to. Oh, that's a rotate again. The scaling is going to have to go this way, and then on the Y, it's going to go this way. So we got a toe. Maybe it's a little too much. There we go. Something like that. And we could keep it in X-ray mode because in this case, sorry about that. We're going to be able to select it here, and it goes through the mesh, and everything's good. If we turn off X-ray, it might actually just to see what it looks like. That's what it would give us, which ain't bad. But I think X-ray in this case is valuable to us. Now the thing is, I'm going to I'm going to make this so that it's child of this object. So it's now it will follow, right? And all I need to do now is lock the rotation of this foot so that it always follows this object that we've put there, because that's always going to be the orientation we want. And if I animate this thing, we're good to go. So I select this, I multi-select the toe, and I add the orientation constraint. Okay. Now always, when you're doing constraints, I know it's annoying because it flips in logic, but you always select the thing that you want constrained last. And a good way to remember that is the last thing you select will show you the channel box, and you're expecting whatever it is that you're constraining to show up as these little blue boxes. I go over that in detail in the constraints video, so that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, if I look at this object and I rotate it, sure enough, it rotates the foot. Now, if I rotate everything above the ball of the foot, it's maintaining the foot, and I'm able to rotate like that. If you rotate below, I mean, at that point, it's kind of a code 16, right? So we could put a lock so you can't go beyond this. But who knows? Maybe you have a shot where you need to do something tricky with the foot, and it's like just barely grabbing onto the ledge or something. So, maybe it might come in handy. So best not. I'm not in the habit of locking anything from the animator. I mean, it's kind of a bad habit that we have. So let's say now I can do pretty much everything I wanted. The only thing that's really missing is if I want to land with my heel, that's good. If I want to lift off the foot, I can do this and then lift it and then straighten it out and then bring it back to zero. We'll deal with the zeroing out once we have everything set up the way we want. And then this thing is still something we could hide, so we don't have to worry about it, type of thing. But we need to still be able to maybe change this visual so that it does this properly, so it looks better than this line going through the foot. I've seen people put circles right here to explain that this is the rotation. I don't know. I don't like that. There's the another term for this kind of a rig for a foot would be called a reverse foot. The reason why it's called a reverse foot, it was because technically you're making a hierarchy for the foot that is in reverse, so that basically you're making it so this is kind of the new parent of the foot, and everything is constrained to something that's very similar to a reverse hierarchy. And in the normal hierarchy, you started from here. In this hierarchy, you start from the bottom and you go up, right? As you control. The best thing is to just consider it. This is a way of doing a foot roll. The only thing we're really missing maybe would be some sort of a controller that goes to the like on the foot. So let's consider what that would be. What would that look like? I'm going to add. I'm going to get rid of the shapes here. I just want to see the what kind of hierarchy we have here right now, and what kind of things we have going. So far we haven't named anything, so that sucks. It'd be a good idea to maybe start naming things, following some sort of convention from the rest of the rig. And then what you would do is maybe I do a pass where when I do the other one on the other side, maybe what I can do is this has a nice controller that goes in this direction for the foot. Maybe I'd create something that looks like this, but in like in the other direction, going that way, which would immediately make you think that I can grab it and rotate it, and its pivot point would be over here, and we could lift it. In fact, we could try to see if we can make this work, which would be something like this kind of thing. And now we got to just fix the scaling, something like that. And I would probably rotate on Z, something like that. Since it's an X-ray, it's going to do well. So let's see here, something like that, and then this one, let's bring it down to that. So by doing this, let's get rid of the. Well, although we might want to keep the wireframe. Right now, it's just a like look. All we did was change the visual, and it's much more intuitive. So the only thing we do is probably hide this thing. We don't even need to see it. You could discard that kind of thing. And if I turn off the joint display, you're already in a pretty good place. I mean, this is pretty obvious what you're doing here. You've got something for the whole foot, something that lifts off the ball of the foot. You have the toe that's very easily distinguished. And the only thing you're really missing is maybe something to be able to rotate off the toe. Like if you wanted to lift off the toe, you don't really have a method right now. You can only lift off the heel and the ball of the foot, but you don't have a way for the toe. So the only thing I would actually add to this, it would be I'd create another bacon locator. Grab that, put it over here, something like that. Figure out where you think the right place is for it. And what I would do then is now we have to figure out, okay, so if we have this thing, which is moving everything, all this thing has to do is kind of be like a sub node where everything's attached to it, and then make that the child of this node. And we've basically interjecting, we're just adding an in-between node, basically. So if we look at everything that it's like in in its list here, you have the basic locator, which is the locator one is the foot. So let's just call it foot underscore. Oh yeah, no caps. Foot controller. In this case, it's left. Something like that. I just made up that naming convention. I don't know if that's going to work for us. We have this object, and now we have this new object. So this new object, I'm going to middle click drag it onto the foot, and this is going to be toe lift. I think no, it's it uses the convention was toe lift underscore controller underscore left, something like that. And now I grab the other guys, like this one and this one, middle click drag it onto the toe. It probably didn't do that correctly. There we go. Be careful with the middle click drag. It's a little bit tricky sometimes. So now we have this new surrogate parent that's in between what we had before. And logically, it should be able to do exactly what the other one was doing, but at a different place, and I still have the ability to move the entire foot relative to that point. So for this guy, we'd probably change it so it's a little ball or something. Maybe how about let's do a sphere and change its local scale, something like that. So you have a contact point. Oh, it's not selecting correctly. That's not good. We're gonna make it a little bit bigger. It's in a place where using control to make it a little bit easier. It's in a place where it's kind of difficult to select. So maybe a different shape, but for now it's good enough. It's gotten the job done. You could grab these two guys and just press H, hide them. You don't need to see them anymore, and this would be your rig. Like, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty good. It's rough around the edges, and we've got one with the heavy wireframe. So maybe we can grab all of them. Not easy to select that one, huh? And then go into wire thickness and put them all to 3, something like that. Then I change some colors, maybe make some solid, maybe some aren't solid. So if this thing is causing trouble, maybe what you can do is make the wire visibility is fine. The solid visibility, maybe put that to 0. So now we can click through it and it doesn't do anything. You have to select like the edge. Now this is much easier to select. So something like that might do the trick. And you can get rid of the X-ray modes if you want to, if it's bothering you. With the bacon shapes, you have lots of options. We can make this much cleaner and simpler to look at. All right, so that's not so bad. So we have basically solved this, and if I were to redo this, I think I can make it easier, and we're going to improve the visuals as we go. There's a lot of lines here. It's not all that clean. So maybe one of the things that I would do is grab this guy and remove the wireframe. So the thickness, I'm just going to put it to 1. And actually, it'd be a good idea to select both of these. Let's see here. That one and that one. Wire thickness would be set to 1. And the wire visibility, I would set it to 0. And now if you do this, maybe we'll make it so that it's having a little trouble selecting it. I wonder why. No, it's fine. The solid visibility, maybe we can put it to 0.25, something like that, or 0.1. So now you can just select an area of the foot. Yep, 0.1. Already it's starting to look a little better. Less of a cluster. And this thing over here, maybe we'll think of something that we could do is actually just lift it. Maybe lift it up in the air a little bit, like that. Pivot point didn't actually change, but it's visual. Definitely is easier to understand, and maybe we can get rid of the super thick lines, so it's more of a ball. All right, so now we're starting to get to the point where it's not starting to bother us so much, and now it's easy to understand what we're selecting still. That's the fun thing about not doing this through using this method. You still have hands-on controls. Like you can lift, you can even do this like you're putting out a cigarette. This is something that you lose if you take all these features and put them into a channel box kind of setup. That's a different kind of setup, and I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. You lose the hands-on approach to animating at that point. Okay, so yeah, with just that, I think we're good. Now for the what we're talking about when we were looking at the hips, so that's great. But I want to be able to rotate this and not affect the upper part. So what I just did there, sometimes these gizmos get in the way of being able to select things. So what I do is if it's, you've got this in the way, instead of making it smaller or bigger, just press Q or this white arrow, click on this white arrow here, and it will go into selection mode, and the gizmo will disappear as a result. So I want to be able to rotate this lower part of the, like, let's say you want the character to do some dancing, or maybe I don't know, it's like a belly dance move type of thing, or you just even a tango would be a problem if you weren't able to somehow make the hips move without affecting the upper body. in some way. And you still want to be able to have one control that moves both of these. And as far as I'm concerned, like this concept that I just described, um, it sounds like parenting to me. Like you'd have a node that can, like this thing would be able to rotate the pelvis, and then that would be parented to something that moves everything, and then the upper body would be linked, would be constrained to another object. So once again, I'm just going to create another bacon locator, and I'm going to move that up. So instead of moving it like that, I'm going to parent it, or rather, like just go, okay, match it. I'm going to match. In this case, I'm going to start using the offset because we've done the other constraints without the maintain offset. So now we're going to start using that feature. Now that we started to get a little bit more confidence in what we're doing and we understand what's going on. So I'm hopefully, anyways. If you press apply, now this object here, that's we need to change it so that it's more helpful. Maybe now is the time for a circle. I don't know. And sure enough, this circle has been designed so that it follows on the x-axis. So to fix that, probably I always consider that one, but let's see here, 90 degrees. There we go. And now we can just local scale. Whoop. And you now have a disk. We could maybe make it so that it's just a thick circle with no interior, because we may have some multiple versions of this. So for now, I'm just going to take the solid visibility part and set it to 0, so we can select through it. And we have this node now that I could use to move the hip around. So what would we need for that? So if I just grab this guy, I use the translate match, so they should be exactly in the same place. I'm going to use the first. I'm going to use a point constraint because I want to lock it down, and I'm going to use in this case, position should be exactly the same, so it shouldn't have to worry. And now if I select this and move it, that's great. All right, but I still need some sort of control for the rotation, right? So I'm not going to constrain the rotation to this because this object also I want to be able to have another control for the upper part that's separate. So maybe what we can do is grab this and then go, okay, I want to make a duplicate of that. So Control D. And this one is going to be a little bit lower, maybe. We can change what kind of shape it is. Maybe the X-ray is getting in our way here, so turn that off. So it's more of a hula hoop, right? And this one at the bottom, maybe we can make it a little bit smaller, just a little bit. So we say that's for the hips. Remember, the point of pivot is still exactly in the same place. All we've done is move the visual. Doing this with splines is a pain in the butt. And then the only thing that I probably wanted, well, you'd want to do colors and so on. There are many ways of doing colors. I'll probably make some tools to make that easier, but if you go under the display, you can go to wire color and you can start applying colors if you want to these things. Like let's say I grab this and I say make it yellow, apply. And then this guy, maybe I want a different color. If we consider that one side's going to be blue, the other side's going to be like reddish, maybe this guy would be interesting as maybe even magenta. Who knows? So that's fine. Anyways, point is, this logically would follow what this is doing. So it's going to be child of this object. Now I need another one of these, and in this case, it's because I duplicated it. It got the parenting as well from before. Instead of minus 0.7, I'm going to just put it to 0.7. So now it's just above. And maybe we can change this color. Apply. And now we have these three colors: one for the upper body, one for the central part, and another one for this part. And we could change these to boxes that are like the foot, like barely visible, you select them, and it allows you to. Hmm, ah, okay. It's because we have a mesh with an X-ray because of these joints. Not X-ray, but the joint, the mesh is attached to the joints directly, so it's actually prioritizing that when I select it depending on the depth. Anyways, not important right now. What's important is we've created these two objects. So if I rotate this one, I want it to control the upper body. If I rotate this one, I want it to control the lower, like the pelvis. And this one's the one that controls both of them, so it would move together because it's parented, right? So all good. So now all I need to do is constrain rotations. So if I grab this, and I grab the pelvis, I'm going to do an orient constraint. And this time I will maintain offset because I want it to keep whatever is here and remember this as the initial. And then just go apply. All right, so now if I just select this thing, there you go. You're able to rotate that already. And if I move this or rotate it, because it's child of it, it's going to do the thing that I wanted there, but the upper body's still not fixed. So if I grab this and I grab this, I do the exact same thing with a maintain offset. Oop. Now if I rotate this, it's doing the upper body. And if I do this one, it's doing the lower body. And if I grab this thing, it's moving both of them at the same time. Perfect. With this, we should be able to just about do everything we need. We would change the visuals again until it's something that's efficient and easy to understand and doesn't get in our way, so that when we're animating, it's as clean as possible. And maybe there's a feature that we can add that when you press play in Maya, all of the bacon shapes disappear. I did it before. I'm pretty sure I could do it again. All right, so now the last thing that we need to do um, is possibly consider adding an IK into the arm. And I didn't do the up vector on the leg, but it's like maybe what we can do is have a like the concept of some, but like the elbow would need to point to the object. So let's just start by doing an IK. So IK again for the arm, we need that. We're going to go to skeleton, create IK handle. I'm going to click on the hand. Oh, okay. So it needs to see the joint, or else it's like, no, I'm not doing it. Okay, let's try that again. Skeleton, create IK handle. Boop. Ah, missed. Okay, one more time. Create IK handle. Boop. That's good. And then I'm gonna click on this one. I was trying to move the viewport, but I couldn't. So if I look at this, it's doing the IK that I wanted. Maybe what I want to do is create a node that like we had before that we just lock onto. So let's say I create a bacon locator, and I'm going to move that so that it is exactly where this this hand is, because I want the orientation of the hand. And I'm just going to go match, translate, and rotate, apply. And while we're at it, this new bacon locator is going to look like a loop. A loop is quite good for this kind of stuff. Maybe remove the X-ray. Boop. So now we really get a sense of it's a thing that goes around the hand. We're almost there. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Something like that. And maybe change its color. This is the blue side, so I would grab this and apply. Although I might lose that the second I'm gonna parent it to the big controller, the big hula hoop, so that the upper body. So now we're gonna make it so that it just follows this. So I grab this thing. Well, rather, I grab this, then this, because this is the thing I want to control. And I'm going to do a point constraint. Maintain offset in this case. Although wait, no, it's exactly in the same place, so no maintain offset, no need. It's going to go into the right place. And now all we really need to do is control the rotation of the hand, because if I move this around, it's great and all, but I don't have rotation of the hand that goes with it, right? So using the same thing, all I need to do is select it, select the hand, and go orientation constraint, maintaining the offset, and I apply. Oh, I didn't click it. There we go. So now if I grab this, it rotates the hand. And now this thing, I can hide it. Although I'm going to keep it here just for a moment because I need some sort of a thing to control what direction the elbow points. Because if you select this object, the only way to actually make it spin is to go to the twist value and use the twist value there. But we need something to point at for the elbow. So I'm going to create a new bacon locator. I'm going to match it to the elbow. If you've seen the constraints video, you'll know why I'm doing this. We're trying to avoid any popping when we activate the pole vector. And I'm just going to match it to, yeah, both, apply. And then this thing, using its local, or rather its object rotation, I can move it along the axis that was that's going to be for the elbow to point at. And we can change this to something else that is easier to understand. Maybe in this case, a little sphere might do the trick. Although we might want to start considering some sort of a visual language, so we know that maybe even locator was just fine. And all we want to do now is, if I recall, it's the order in which you select is in reverse. So of the other constraints, let's see if that works. Constraint pole vector. Nope, got it backwards. So it's this, then the pole vector. Boom. Okay. So now if you'll notice nothing kind of moved, so it's nice. If I move this around, whoop, not this one. If I move this around, seems to be just fine. And if I move this, the elbow controls it. So now I can grab this and hide it. And we're going to get rid of the X-ray mode. So maybe this guy needs to be a little bit more. I think it's this X scale. So let's say I do something like that. So this is pretty nice to be able to select it. You select this for the hand. I'm going to go into world. And now I can IK the hand, and I have control over the hand's direction. And also, some people, what they do is they actually make that child node of this. So the elbow rotates with it. I'm not a big fan of that. But it's up to you. Whatever makes your animation more intuitive, by all means, go for it. So this object is probably best as a child of this node. So that way, when I move this, everything should be fine. I'm not. Not fine. I forgot to link these two together. What's this? Oh, don't worry about that. That's because I have all kinds of debug information on a script. It's there. Okay, so this guy needs to be linked to this. Now is everything good? Yeah, everything's good. I move the main thing, everything follows along. All I did was make sure that any stragglers like this one had the root as as its parent node. I can still do this. I can still move this around. I can still rotate the hips independently, so I can do kind of this thing, and then I would be able to rotate the spine this way. If you know how the contrapposto concepts work, then you're good to go. So basically with this, but on the other side of the foot, I mean, there are ways of optimizing this. So in the end, I think for this video, I think with this alone, we have already what we need to do. This could be considered, like if you were just to do the other side of the body, it could be considered an MVP. And the video is already long enough, but it covers a lot of ground. And with this kind of a setup, if you were to name things correctly and maybe work on the visuals so that they're not as annoying, then you'd probably be okay. Like this is you can do a lot of animation with this, and I think we're good. So just to reiterate, I have this little text file that I'm going to put this as the description in the video, and this covers basically what we've been talking about. So we have a method to maintain the foot on the ground. We if we added a pull vector to the knee, it would point forward to it just like we did with the arm. We have a method to move and rotate each foot in its entirety. Yeah, that's the main controller. We have a method to lift each ankle from the ball, meaning the ball of the foot. We have a way for each foot at their heel. Yeah, we have a heel contact. The tip of the foot as well. We have a way of doing that. We can rotate either toe freely without being affected or affecting the rest of the foot. It is under control. A method to control arms with IK, absolutely. A method to control each arm's elbow direction. For elbow direction, we did it. It's all good. Method to move and rotate the center of mass. We have that. So it moves the upper spine and the pelvis together. And a method to rotate the pelvis independently from the rest of the spine. Absolutely. So then the rest is more of making sure the visuals are easy to understand. We have consistent naming convention. Everything's connected to the root. Oh, we didn't do the zeroing out, but that should be pretty straightforward, right? Like all you need to do is, because these are all joints, you'd be able to, like for example, this guy, everything that's here, you would select it without the IK handle. And then because they're joints under the hood, you'd be able to use the modify freeze transformations. And because they're joints, you can only freeze the rotation and it will clear out a lot of the crap. So if you look here, rotate is starting at 0. Wonderful. And this node is also at 0. That's good. The foot, see, it's easy to select now. Again, don't worry about that. That's just the scripts kicking in from over here, because there's here. I'll just go over it real quick. Just get rid of these. We won't see any. We shouldn't be seeing any problems anymore. So if what we were doing is we were checking the rotation and everything's fine. And I would do that for all of these nodes, like this one, this one, this one, and this one, and just apply. They're all joints, so look at that, nice and clean. And here's where we would hit that point where we're like, well, it'd be nice to have this. Hey, what's this? Integer type float. There's some color palette. Oh, that's this thing. Oh, okay. So, all right. So, there's okay. Well, that's a new one. So yeah, we have all of our objects. They're zeroed out in rotation. The translation is not good for that one. We'd have to clean that up because that's a controller that needs to have a 0. Same thing goes for this controller here. You'd want to have a 0. Now in the past, what I would do is I'd create a parent node and interject it into the hierarchy. But nowadays, because of the nature of that there's no constraint on it, I would probably grab this, and I'll probably make a script for this, but you can grab these values and throw them in there. Although in the case of this specific object, we don't need to worry about join orients and all that stuff. So you could probably use the function that I have here under joint orient and 0 to parent offset matrix. And basically it'll zero it out, right? It's nice and clean. And it's basically dumped all that information, got rid of it, got rid of the join orient values, and it dumped it all in the offset parent matrix. But as long as this isn't part of the IK like joints, it's fine. This method will work, and I can do the same thing for this guy. And since no one's skinning anything on this, it's fine. You're not breaking the skinning either. It's a lot of things to consider, I know, but right now, this tool in Maya, it's great that it's there. But as I replace the IK, like the Maya IK is great and all, but I'll provide you with one that does not depend on joint orients, and will allow you to have clean everything for positions and rotations, taking advantage of that new tech. So here we've just cleaned it up. Everything's at 0. This is the way you want to work. This is all nice and clean now. And this guy would definitely benefit from this. Because these aren't part of the IK directly, it's okay to do. I can't help but keep repeating that. This thing would never be positional, so we don't really need to worry about it. We just need to worry about the rotation, maybe lock the position, and then you have the toe, which is now zeroed out as well. It's nice and clean. And this guy is maybe this guy, because you might want to do this kind of thing. Maybe. I don't know. I think with just this as for rotation and just focusing on this for position and so on, I think we're good to go. All right. So that covers a lot of ground. This video is actually quite long, but we now have the making of an MVP rig, and we didn't even need to go into too much detail as to how to clean it up. I'll just say one of the things that you can do to clean it up is you create this node that's for lifting, and instead of using that line that we had before, the original object that we had to lift for orientation to lock the foot, you could do it directly onto this object, which both the orientation of that bone would be locked to, and the IK handle would be parented to. And this object could actually serve both of those. You don't need to have a separate object that has an orientation constraint. That's one way of cleaning it up. And also what we might want to do is have this object and this object have a root node right at the same spot, because that point in space is useful to us maybe in future rigs. Who knows? And it'd be nice to have a new parent there, like a little crosshair that we hide, just so it's clean and everything is parented to it. Yeah, and that would be pretty neat to be able to move these two things if we needed to. Okay, so that I think covers the MVP. With this kind of a setup, you would be able to animate as long as you did both sides of the body and were careful with the steps that I put out there. Hopefully, it's clear. If not, I'll redo this video and make it more clear. All right, so that covers about everything.